Hey everybody, Mike here from CMMG, and today I want to talk to you about our various platforms. We've recently relaunched our website and it's got a whole new interface. And in that interface, you can choose your AR. So you can start with the caliber and then you get to pick a platform. Well, there, we might lose a couple of you. So today, I'm just going to do a really quick look at each of the platforms and look for future videos where I actually dive into each of those platforms a little bit deeper. So starting off, let's just jump right into it with our first offering. This is a Mark IV. So the Mark IV is going to basically be your traditional AR. So what people would deem to be a kind of mil-spec AR. It's going to be all your same lower components, standard buffer tube, standard spring set, mil-spec trigger, and it takes standard AR magazines. Now, with the Mark IV, we have a lot of varieties and we have a lot of different calibers that it is available in. But like I said, each of these I'll get into its own video later. So for right now, all you really need to know is the Mark IV, also known as the MK4, is going to be your traditional AR-15. All right, moving on from the Mark IV, we have our Mark III. What the Mark III is basically our 308 line. So this is going to be based on an LR308 high pattern profile. So this is going to be available in a couple different calibers, but this is going to be your larger magazine well, bigger bolt, longer receiver set. That's going to be everything that the 308 platform is going to be based on. So Mark III, 308 sized. All right, after the Mark III, we're going to dive into our first offering in a pistol caliber. So the 9mm or the Mark IX. This was our first offering for 9mm, and it takes Colt style SMG magazines. So Mark IX is the only one of its class. It takes straight Colt style 9mm magazines. All right, moving right along, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the Mark 47. So the Mark 47 was a completely different beast and still is. This is a complete mid-size platform. This was designed from the ground up to be its own beast, and it takes AK-47 style magazines. This is a mid-size platform that is actually in between the Mark IV and the Mark III. So it has the beefier components like a Mark III, but it's not quite as long as a Mark III, but still longer than a Mark IV. So again, hopefully I'm not going to get too confusing here. I'll go into each of these a little bit more, like I said, in a different video. And with the release of the mid-size platform in the Mark 47, we realized that there was a demand for that mid-size category. There are certain rounds that are just borderline a little too much for an AR-15, but don't need a huge platform of a 308. Then we had the Mark W. What the Mark W is a mid-size platform, so it still has the beefier components like the Mark 47, but it does take things that go in a standard AR magazine well. So overbuilt standard mag well for like those higher pressure rounds. After the Mark W and the mid-size platform, we decided to shift gears a little bit and we went more toward pistol calibers. And with that, we had to have, does it take Glock magazines? Yes, they do. Our first entry in there is the Mark G. So the Mark G initially was the Mark G45. It only takes Glock 45 type magazines. No other guns are going to be compatible with this. You can't use the 10mm or anything of that sort. Now, with the release of the Mark G, we also introduced our radial delay blowback operating system. Again, that's something I'm not really going to get into too many details of because I've got plenty of other videos surrounding that. Here, we're just primarily concentrating on the calibers. So, Mark G, Glock magazine. And since it's solo G, it's the big Glock magazines, which is the 45. After the Mark G, we released the Mark GS. S stands for the small magazines. So that's going to be your 9mm and your 40 Smith & Wesson. So MkGs or Mark GS is going to be Glock style magazines, small frame. All right, since I just talked about the MkG and the MkGs, I'm going to go ahead and jump one level real quick and go straight to the Mark 10 or the MK10. What that is a 10mm, and it does take the larger Glock size magazines, similar to a 45, but unfortunately due to different seating heights and things, the Mark G and the Mark 10 are not compatible. They are their own creatures. So again, Mark G is 45. Mark 10 is strictly going to be Glock 10mm. And since I was keeping all the Glock fed magazines together, I did skip one platform, and that is the Mark 57. Well, the Mark 57 5.7, you guessed it, 5.7 by 28. And this creature takes FN 5.7 handgun style magazines. So just like the MkG, MkGs, and Mark 10, this is also a radial delay blowback operating system. This one just happens to be chambered in 5.7 by 28 and takes FN handgun type magazines. And the last platform I'm going to talk about today, but certainly not least, is the Mark 17. The Mark 17 is going to be virtually identical to the MkGs Glock fed magazine. The only difference is the Mark 17 utilizes SIG P320 style magazines. It's still going to be a 9mm, but it takes SIG P320 style magazines. Otherwise, ergonomics and everything are exactly the same on it. Okay, so for a quick summary, we're just going to run down them really quick with the high points. Mark 4, standard AR. Mark 3, 308 size. Mark 9, Colt style 9mm magazines. Mark 47, mid-size platform, exclusively to use AK style magazines and shoots a 7.62 by 39 round. Mark W, mid-size platform, takes standard AR magazines in a couple of those like Wildcat style cartridges that are a little hotter than they would normally be for a standard AR. Mark G is going to be Glock 45 style magazines. Mark GS is going to be Glock small frame magazines, so your 9 and your 40 Smith & Wesson. Mark 10 is going to be Glock 10mm style magazines. Mark 57 is going to be FN 5.7 by 28. That's going to be the FN 5.7 handgun style magazines. And rounding them off with the Mark 17 is going to be SIG P320 style magazines. So again, I know this was just a really quick overview of the different platforms. So look for future videos where I go into each of those in a lot more detail. A lot more videos to come. Hit us up in the comments down below. Let us know what it is you're looking for. What can I answer for you? What other topics do you need us to talk about? And just, like I said, stay tuned. If you made it this far, you know what you're supposed to do. Give us a like. Please subscribe. A little stat, as of recording this, 76% of you watching are not subscribed to our channel. So it would help greatly if you guys would actually subscribe to the channel and share us with your friends. So as always, guys, till next time, stay safe out there.